Trust the process. Pain is power. All great things take time. I am unbreakable. Unbreakable.
Hey guys, so my name is Alex. I run Toronto Dance Salsa. We're the largest salsa dance school in Canada, and our whole thing is changing lives every time we teach. So, I started at the school 10 years ago. My journey was like I started 22, 23 because I had a medical condition called, part of it was a medical condition, was called hyperhidrosis, which basically meant my palms sweat so much. It's a medical condition. And so it was a combination of that and my friends when I was 18, 19, because you're in the States, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm in United States.
United States. So in Canada, legal drinking age is 18, smoking is 19. So at 18, you can go clubbing. You can go clubbing, and in certain provinces, even you can get it at 16, whatever. Anyway, so my friends would drag me to clubs, and I hated the dance floor. Like in terms of like dancing with a girl, and just like I felt uncomfortable in my body. I didn't have rhythm, super awkward. My hands sweat all the time, even like holding a girl's hand walking, and then you hear that sound. They're like, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "No, I'm not nervous. Maybe," right? And so all of that. So I got sick and tired of just being trapped in my body, and I decided to take control. So I went and I got an operation. So they went between my rib cage, they cut me open, and they cut the connection to my hands. So my hands can't sweat anymore. And at the age of 22, 23, I just started dancing because I wanted to reclaim my body, feel comfortable with girls holding hands, dancing, and I didn't really expect the journey that it would take me to, because I wanted to be a marriage counselor originally. I wanted to help people stay together. That was my original goal. So I went to university to study psychology for that. And then in the second year, I'm like, nope, I've been wanting this since high school. I realized I don't want this. I don't want to go get my PhD. This is not the path. What am I going to do? I hate school. I love people, but I hate school. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a cop. So I started training to be a cop.
No way.
Swear to God, started training to be a cop, became a security guard, need to get the experience, passed all my policing things, right? Just have to apply now. And then I realized a year and a half into it, I'm like, I do not want to do this. And I'm like, what am I going to do? It's like I'm 25, already made 2 major life changes, right? And 25 is nothing these days, but still at that point it was a lot. Quarter life crisis I had. I remember I was showering, and then I started panic attacking, lightheaded, and I thought I was going to faint. And I'm like, what is happening with me? Never had a panic attack in my life at 25. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what it feels like. Anyway, so I go to my family, like, guess what? I'm changing again, because I had to fight to be a psychologist. They were against it for a long time because they were like, you're going to work with crazy people, and you're going to be traumatic. You're going to have trauma because of it. Then I'm like, I'm going to be a cop. They're like, you're going to get killed. You're going to get shot. No, I'm like, I'm still doing it. I don't care. Now I'm switching, and I'm like lost. I got a bachelor's in psychology, which means I can go work in McDonald's. It really does nothing for you. And now I have my job, construction part-time that I used to do during the summer, and a security guy. So I'm like, I got no prospects. I don't know what to do. So I got into sales, and in the process, I was just dancing, and I was dancing for fun. Then I wanted to be a volunteer. Actually, they told me no, I was a bad dancer. So I wanted to be a volunteer for free. They said, no, you can't be. I finally,
we don't
yeah, like I was like, when people don't, I was really bad, like really bad. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'll train, whatever you need. So I became a volunteer. Then I'm like, can I be an assistant up front? They're like, no, you're not good enough. I'm like, what do I need to do? I'm like, can I be instructor? No, there's no room. You're not good enough. So every time I was just like a no, and then I would like push through. No, I push through. And what happened was, how you met Evan, I got lucky, where it was like 4 or 5 years ago, there was a moment where there was a change there happening in ownership and all this stuff. And essentially he approached me. He's like, hey, at that point I was doing sales, making a lot of money, even though I didn't really want to. But I was like, I'm crushing it, and I'm making it with a value system that I feel comfortable with. Because in my mind, like in sales, I feel like you have to lie and cheat. And definitely that's such also like a Hollywood, not would say a Hollywood, but definitely a culture we grew up in. Like you think of a salesperson, you think of that sleazy car salesman from the 70s that we grew up seeing in movies and stuff, that always just tries to sell you a lemon, even though I love lemons. I don't know why lemons are bad, whatever. Anyway, And it's all that. So, but like, I'm like, no, I can be honest. I can be with integrity. I can get the best interest and have a reputation. So doing really well, about to be promoted. And then they came out with this opportunity and they were like, you want to do this. And so long story short, I had to take a big chance. And 5 years later, right, I'm building a company that's changing the world. And I want to be in every major city because my thing is belong. It's tattooed on my arm. And
I love it.
like, the world would be a better place if everybody felt like it belonged. And so what I realize is dancing, rock climbing, whatever you pick is just a mechanism. And now that I figured it out in my life, really what I want is when people leave, they leave stronger, better people, not because of the dance, because dance is a given and the confidence you get from it.
Mm-hmm.
But like the stories that you and I are going to work on and it's like segue to you and what you want to do is what I do in my classes every time. And I've built it up 3-4 years. I've trained, like, and now I'm coaching the other instructors because ultimately we, you know, our brain, you know, shamans and tribe back in the day, that's how knowledge is passed. And that's how we communicate and still need. Like the reason we are so lonely is because we don't feel like we have a tribe that won't judge us, that we don't feel that we belong with. And we suffer in silence, unfortunately. And most of us believe that we can't have that, because maybe our parents or our friends or environment or whatever it is, right? It's been passed down this broken, unfortunately, system of if you're vulnerable, you might get rejected. I know so much less. Anyways, and so that's what I address, and that's what I do the Through Storyteller. And it's weird. I'm not a very spiritual person, but I'm not, right? Like, but I believe that whether you're a shaman, whether you're a priest, whether you're Tony Robbins, what they're all trying to address is what we're all hungry for, which is freedom, belonging, love, and care. And no matter what the culture is, no matter what religious hat you wear, we all want that. And I'm a strong believer that if everybody felt like they belong, there would be no wars. Because there's just acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And acceptance doesn't mean I agree with you. Acceptance means, hey, I see that this is important and I want to support you in any way. I mean, as long as, right, you're not killing people, and I'm not talking about the 1% of psychopaths, right? I'm talking about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's funny because I can't even say this on a website, not in the sense of I could, but they don't get it. But when they come to my class and, you know, I ask them questions like, how do you know when you should quit on something? I'll ask them that question. Like people who are 65 and professional lawyers, people who are 22 and don't know where they are in life. And they'll write their answers. And at the end of the class, I tell them a story and they're crying or they're laughing or whatever. And they're like, and it hits them. And then I have the students, some of them come to me like, hey, listen, you know, you talked about quitting and stuff. And honest, like I've been in this relationship for 6 months and I wanted to leave already, but I've been too scared because of this. And you told me this next and reminded me about my happiness and that this person, and they come to me, I'm like, this is the thing. I don't want my classes to be a Netflix. I don't want what I provide to be numbing. I want it to be safe, fun, incredible, a rock concert, Cirque du Soleil, and make you a better person. And that's what everybody needs, and I'm doing.
And I'm sure in that moment, they feel free, right? Because one, they're able to express themselves openly without, like you said, feeling judged or feeling misunderstood. And, you know, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you and say like, wow, like that was a lot to take in. And I would have never expected that you wanted to be a marriage counselor or that you wanted to be a law enforcement officer. And I think it's great, you know, and it's one thing that I'm able to connect with you in that sense because, you know, as I told you previous, I don't know, actually, I don't know if I got into full details, but that was my career path, law enforcement.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was my career path for about, I want to say, literally since I could remember being a little kid up until 20, I made that decision. I'm going to get into law enforcement. I'm going to put myself through school, get a diverse education, get my associates in criminology and forensics. I went through the police academy, did everything that I should have done, but I didn't feel fulfilled. And I had that aha moment to make me realize there's something bigger than me, right? So the fact that you experience that same transition, right, where you're like, okay, I could go be a marriage counselor to keep families together. I think that's one, amazing, because you're doing it other than yourself, right? Then you realize, okay, maybe I want to become a police officer. At the end of the day, you wanted to help people, right? But now that you've transitioned into, you know, the salsa dancing, the studio, I kind of see you implementing and intertwining your counseling into the dancing. And how does that make you feel? Like, I mean, I can tell you that I guarantee there's not many instructors that are like that, that really truly care about, you know, their clients or their students or the people that are coming in to really, you know, dive in on a deeper level. So, I mean, I don't know, like, what is the response rate from your clients? Like, are they like, what are you doing? You know, I thought I just came to dance.
So here's the thing, true, this is the truth. Like there was a few times I seriously almost quit on this dream. So here's the thing, there's no dance school that does this, that's one. The closest I could find, you've heard, you know, you have a lot of Soul Cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Evan and I, he was talking to me, he's like, hey, like, cause I'm like, I want to learn and grow, I want to evolve. None of my teachers at the school were doing it at this point, right? Like, no, it's just me paving the way. And so it started with, like, when I first did it 4 years ago, there was no system. I just knew that I wanted to lift people up. I saw the benefit of personal development in my life. I saw going to the Tony Robbins event, like digging deep, looking at my traumas and finding purpose from pain, right? Because like your purpose will always come from pain.
Yes.
Right? Like that's where you will grow the strong, right? Like a rose grows through manure,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the most beautiful. And so, like, yeah, you need light and nurturance, and right, but like you got it. And so when I first started it, it was bad. It was so bad. I had students complaining about me. At this point, I was in a relationship. My partner hated what I was doing. Like all the instructors, a lot of my
personal, right?
yeah, like, but because you know what I did? This is a true story. It's like I would pick a quote, like Confucius says, blah blah blah. And now at the end of the class, I'll talk for 5 minutes, like a very pedagogical, whatever the word is, right? Like very kind of professor, like you think tweed jacket, stuffy, and be like, you gotta do this and blah blah. And at this point, definitely, I was watching a lot of Tony Robbins and that kind of aggressive energy. So even that approach was aggressive. Anyway, and I remember one semester I had the lowest scores in the history of any instructor in like 8 years.
Really?
And the two ones that I remember, this is one of the moments where I almost quit. One of the people said, I didn't come here to watch a B-rated version of Tony Robbins. I came here to learn to dance, not to listen to Alex's problems and how he can fix my own. It's a waste of my time. And I will tell no one and everyone to stay away from your school. No. And another one was, this was horrible. I didn't come here for therapy. It was a waste of my time. I want a refund and blah, blah, blah. And I read these and I remember at this point, like, you know, everybody around me except Evan at that point, like, believed in what I was doing. Like everybody, because all they saw was this raw, lost person just failing. And nobody's doing it. Nobody's like, right? And so I'm reading and I'm sobbing. And I'm sobbing because at that point, at the beginning, I was like, I'm going to give you this dream. I'm going to coach you. You're going to take over and you're going to build something incredible. And I'll be there behind you.
That was Evan, right?
That was Evan. And so he's like, this is, I think you're an 8-lane highway. I think what you're going to do is incredible. And I want to stand behind you. Right? But like everybody, right? And like, I don't feel safe. And so I'm sobbing and I'm like, Evan put the wrong trust in the wrong person. I'm ruining the school. I'm failing. I'm destroyed. Blah, 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 blah. It was I remember it was one of the more darker moments because you talk about this. And so what he said was this. He said, listen, you got two choices. He said, either double down and accept that you're just crap at this. Now he didn't say crap, right? That's not how he speaks. It's all love, but shortcutting. Gotta watch. Evan never says that or curses, to be honest. Try to get him to curse.
That clear.
Yeah, let's make that clear. But but he's like, either you can double down, accept it, eat that judgment and grow stronger, or go back to being just a fun instructor. Leave this alone. And I was like, option 2, let me leave it alone. So I took the second option, go be fun instructor. And within 1 semester, I had the highest scores of any instructor. I dropped the speeches. I just became, because that's my natural energizing bunny self. I love people. I love to lift people. That's my natural prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the high scores in the history of any instructor. Just amazing, crushing it. Everybody's loving me. The best time. I look forward to this. I've skipped work meetings for this, like all this amazing stuff. Awesome. And it was a semester later, and we're looking at feedback, and he's like, okay, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to go back to it. I want to go back to this. And I started slowly, and I was bad at it. The problem was, and I think this is a great lesson for anyone listening, like you want to be a public speaker. You want to build something amazing. And I mean, honestly, like public speaking in anything, when you think of public speaking, you think like speech, podcast. No, but like learning to communicate your ideas as a mother, as a partner, in a clear manner that empowers and doesn't disempower whoever is important in any skill.
Communication,
so,
right?
It's big, exactly. I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Communication, exactly. Holy cow. Talking all this, can't remember the word. And so I was just really bad. I was raw, and all they saw was the raw. Evan just saw the potential. He saw the grind and the potential.
That's all you needed, right?
But exactly.
Especially in that moment when you got that feedback, that negative feedback, right? You could have given.
Oh my God, yeah.
Quit. You were sobbing, yes.
Yeah.
What did it do for you when he saw the potential and when he knew, I'm not going to give up on you? You could.
So I'll be honest, like that was, if it wasn't for him, I would have for sure quit, and he knows that too. And like, I'm like, dude, I owe you my life and so many things. I mean, like, so blessed to have him. I think, you know, I think the honest truth is this: when you're in that dark place, when you don't feel like you belong, the thing that you need most is just unbridled presence and support with no answers. Because you're not in a process, you're not in a space to even think about the answers. That comes later. And so I think that this is very important, because I think a lot of people, you know, when you know, so like with the whole Corona thing, like I know people whose partners have died, and like I know people, right? And so I look at that and I'm like, and I think about, why aren't they reaching out? Why are they suffering? There's many reasons for it, right? And like we could talk about Renee Brown and all that stuff, but what I think part of it is the mistake that I make. Because I'm so much into personal development, honestly, there aren't that many people that I would respect to go to their opinion for. Right? Like Evan is one of them, and I can think of a few people, not because I don't respect them, but because I'm working so hard that most people I go to, if I say, hey, I didn't work out, they'll say, hey, it's okay, there's tomorrow.
Right.
Right. So like if every person in your life, let's say you're into fitness, if every person in your life is a professional bodybuilder, and you tell them that,
there's no excuse.
No, and I mean, the best ones will give you love and be like, okay, I love you. You fell. Can you go just do 2 push-ups right now? Just prove to yourself, right? Those will be, because what most people offer is a pill, an Advil to get rid of the headache. And in part, it's because they want to remove the pain. And most it's because of their own standards. Like they're still not there where they can push past the pain, right? And so I mean, I don't know how I got to this, but like when I look at, oh yes, in the pain, right? So vulnerability. So when you're in this moment, when I was in that darkness, really the biggest thing that Evan gave me wasn't the 2 options, was that he still believed in me and I'm lost. Yes, he gave me a way out. And he also didn't deny the dream. He said, you can do either, and I'm behind on either. I love you, whether you don't work out, right? The equivalent, or you do it. What do you need? Where I think a lot of people don't go for support because one is they think, you know, like you're in pain and they're like, what are they going to tell me that I don't know? But that's not the problem. The thing that you need most now is just someone hugging or acknowledging. And sometimes I think, at least for me, and I don't want to place this on other people, but for me, as I do so much more personal development, I forget that the reason it's tattooed on my hand is that's such a basic need that like just a week ago, I didn't feel like I belong. I was doing a lot of personal growth and stuff and struggling. I feel like I was failing in a bunch of places. And like, there's a bunch of people who I love deeply and are incredible. And I didn't go to them because I'm like, they're not going to tell me anything I don't know. And it took me a day or two to be like, damn it, that's not what I need. I just need them to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like,
right.
I think that's partly sometimes why some people don't reach out for the help. You don't need solutions. Don't worry about the solutions. Don't worry about the path. Like, if your cup is empty, just go to someone who you respect and just trust more so, who can just fill it for you a bit, just 10%, 15%, and then build and build and build. And I think definitely Evan has done that. And there's been a few incredible people in my life who have offered me that, which I think is an essence of belonging, because the way I define belonging is open arms, seek to understand, and honest validation. And, you know, when the video opened up and you and I are smiling, this is already open arms, because it's like whatever. And, you know, it's so subtle, you know, imagine if you live with your partner and you come home and you say, hey, and just their voice says, hey, like already that's not open arms, and not judging the part,
mm-hmm.
right? It's just the air changes.
And that negative energy. And I feel like it's extremely important to be on that same wavelength, right? And if you're not, then it's going to bring you down. At the end of the day, it's going to bring you down.
Exactly.
So when did you realize that you were good enough? When did you realize you saw the pain, right? You were in a really dark place. You could have given up. But when did you realize, like, everybody else saw greatness in you? Evan saw greatness in you. He saw potential.
Yeah.
When did you realize that I can do this and I can be my true authentic self? I could implement personal self-development if I want to. Nobody's doing it, so why can't I do it?
Okay, here's the honest truth. I still struggle with enough. I was struggling with enough a couple of days ago. So a couple of things. I don't. So you have a few tattoos.
Woo!
Beautiful. Yeah. Nice colors too. So you have a sleeve, right? That's what it's called.
I have a whole sleeve. Yes.
That's right. The sleeve. Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. So I never believed in tattoos. For me, why I didn't believe in, well, not believe. I didn't identify, believe. You don't believe anything. I didn't identify with tattoos simply because I was worried if I put something down, I might regret it. The idea of permanency was the thing for me. Like, I'll put on a unicorn, and 3 years later is like, why is there a unicorn jumping over a tree? Right? Like, that was my worry.
Yeah.
The reason I got belong, which is my core value, and my, by the way, have you already figured out what your why is? Like, your one word?
Unbreakable.
Right. Oh, and that's what, oh my God, I didn't even know. Amazing. Jeez Louise. That's your one word, unbreakable. Amazing. Okay, so here's the thing. So the reason I got this here was because I know that it's a life journey. Right? Like, belonging, you know, is self-acceptance, another way to look at it, or acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And you grow stronger, right? Like, you grow in unbreakableness. You always go stronger. Like, if you're never doing something that doesn't, like, what do you okay, sorry, here's an easy way. How do you define unbreakable? How do you define unbreakable?
Unbreakable is somebody going through the trenches, either adversity, failures, hardships, but still keeping that mindset to come out on top, no matter what.
Right.
No matter what. You're gonna have
to lose your house. You can lose a leg. Yes. You can lose, like, but what unbreaks you is the part that when you get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's beautiful, and that's called in your experience. And here's the funny part. If you ever let yourself get to the point where you're not tested like that, that's a death sentence for you. Because, like, the whole point is climb the next mountain.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to have trials. You're going to have tribulations. You're going to have obstacles. There's going to be moments, like you said, where you want to give up, right? And believe me, there have been many moments that I want to get up, don't want to get back up, but I've been through worse. I've been through some really dark pain that when I think of putting myself in that moment of giving up, I think of that moment when I felt the most pain. So I think, you know what? I got through it. I'm unbreakable. Like, yeah, I may have bruises, I may have scars, but that's what makes me unbreakable, right? And I believe every single person has a story, whether it's a, you know, a bad story, a good story, regardless, you have a story. You got to turn your mess into your message, turn your pain into your power. And that's what defines being unbreakable. You know, like against all odds, you are unbreakable.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. That's how I see it.
And so you asked me, like, when did I know? I feel like I belong now more than I did 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But because I'm lifting now way more, making harder decisions, taking on more responsibility, I'll still have moments where I question myself. What I find has grown is the recovery time between doubt and getting back on is shorter. And I think that is a massive win that I'm seeing. Like 3 years ago, the things I'm dealing with now, I would not handle. I'm be able to lift. It's like back then, 5 pounds was a lot, right? And I'm sweating and I'm like pooping my pants. I don't know if I can say that, but like whatever, right? Like it's murder. Like 5 pounds for me then.
Right.
It's like now 60 pounds is where I'm struggling. Where in 3 months, 120. But I do want to answer it in the best way that I can. Like I've gotten stronger, but how about this? If people are struggling with not feeling like they're enough, what advice would I give them?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 parts. I think 1, watch Renee Brown. I think Renee Brown, I mean, she talks about love and belonging and vulnerability. And one of the messages I got one of her books, but one message I love that she said, and I read it multiple times, was she said, enough now, not when. And this idea that she talks about of we've been handed down, we've learned through pain or whatever, that when I have a child, I'll be enough. When I have this house, I'll be enough. Whatever the conditions, because behind I'm enough is I deserve love. That's the deeper thing is, if I'm enough, I'll deserve love, which is very much like also Tony Robbins' thing, if you think about it. Talks a lot about that. Like we all want to feel like we deserve the love, right? Like at work, anywhere. It's not just with your lovers, it's anything. It's with yourself. That you can allow yourself to be happy and feel a sense of love and appreciation, right? Like, so I think 1 is definitely watching Renee Brown, and just the idea of when you look at perfectionism because you think it's your strength, but it's like a 20-ton shield she talks about, because you're avoiding people seeing, right, you failing in front of them and the judgment or whatever, and blah, 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 the stories you make and all that stuff, right? So I think 1, just watch Renee Brown. I think 2, to address the problem of not enough, and this is again in the general sense of how I've been dealing with it, is you need to build a reputation with yourself, whether it's whatever 5 pounds looks like lifting, of doing the hard things you're uncomfortable with. Because the problem with not enough is just looking in the mirror and be like, I'm enough, is never going to be enough. Well, the problem is this, you don't believe yourself. Right? Like that talk, that waking up in the morning, just saying that. So, I think it was Les Brown who said, it's like, do you wish it or believe it? Something like that. But the idea is like, if you weigh 400 pounds and you say, I'm thin, you're still going to weigh 400 pounds. So the problem is your standards. Okay. What you get in life is your standards, not your wants. That's one of the things that Les Brown says, I think. But he says you never get what you want. You get your standards. And so think about enough. If you want to be the kind of person who feels like they're enough, what kind of standards would that person have? Would they have the standards where if they see something is important, they don't follow through? If they are scared to have that honest conversation with their friend or dad or whatever, would they still do it? And so this is actually a story of light and hope, because like, if you're too scared to have that honest conversation with your dad who was abusive to you when you were little, okay, that's 150 pounds. You can't lift that. Don't even worry about it.
Right.
But what's 5 or 10 pounds? Can it be with a coworker? And like the more you consistently raise your standards as the person who does the hard things, then the actions prove that you start to be enough for the things that you want because you're doing the hard things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's both. It's Renee Brown leaning in, embracing yourself, the work of self-understanding, and then going out and doing it. So like when you ask me when did I think I was enough, there's a ton of moments I can tell you in stories where I was too scared to do something and I had to force myself to do, and I failed and I cried and this, and I lost people. I lost some of my closest friends and whatever. But now any of those situations I deal with, I'm like, I laugh because I'm like, oh, I'm going to destroy the situation because I already dealt with it. Right? Like I don't question that I'm enough. Like you put me with a group of strangers who don't know dance, I will be the best instructor in the room. I'll destroy it. Where, right? Like if you put me in a group maybe with world-renowned professional dancers, I'll be like, there's no way. Like that's right. They'll destroy me. Right? And so I think you start to feel like you're enough in areas where you become an expert. Where you build a sense of competence, competence and knowledge, and enoughness in interpersonal, which is the one that we all want. I want to feel like enough in front of my partner, in front of my father, right? Like the big ones, because relationships really kind of open and close doors for us.
Yes.
You're not solo. You didn't get here by yourself. You got here with all the people in your life that pushed you away or brought you in. And so that enough is honestly always addressed with vulnerability, like what we're doing here, what we're talking about. I hope that answers it. That was a big, long.
No. You nailed it. I really, you touched on so many points, and I feel that there's so many people that are able to relate, including myself, right? So I think that's pretty amazing. And I feel like, you nailed it in a sense where if you have to build that confidence, right? Because when you build that confidence, you start to feel like, okay, I'm an expert. Right? You got to build that experience. And when you know enough, you're able to teach it, right? So I think that's really amazing. And so what are some things that you have going on now? And where do you see yourself? Like what's next for you?
Right. Well, first of all, do we have enough time for what we were planning to do? I just don't want to run out of time for that. We're okay with that, right? So I'm good for another 55 minutes.
Yeah.
So, okay, good. Okay, cool. So your question is what's next? So right now it's crazy. So coronavirus, we're closed as a school, and there's a lot of dance schools that will probably permanently close. Like they won't survive this. And we're the largest salsa dance school, but we feel the pressure, like rent, all that. Like that's like there's no money coming in, and we're refunding people. Like it is what it is, right? Like, but in the last 6 weeks, I've onboarded 6 new people on training to be instructors, and I'm 4 of them I've never met in my life. 3 of them I've never met in my life. I just virtually met them, and I'm teaching them to dance. 2 of them don't even know how to dance. I'm teaching them to dance virtually and coaching them how to be an amazing speaker and teacher virtually. So when we open up, I have as many people ready, and we're building.
Wow.
And so the reason for that is I don't want to survive this. I want to thrive through this. And if I don't have control whether or not we can open, do I have control of building a strong foundation, support system of people who share my values, that when we launch, that they're all hungry to go, which puts pressure on me, that I have all these Michael Jordans that want to play, and I'm like, guys, we don't have enough balls. And I'm like, okay, we need to get some more balls. Because you got Michael, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, coach, give me the ball. I'm like, okay, let's go. Right? So Spalding, I think Spalding is the one that wrote the big one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a sports guy. Anyway, so that's what's on the horizon. I wanna build something ASAP, massive, expand, and I wanna next year look at opening in another city, which means that the foundation here has to be strong. Like I want to open up somewhere in the States, like, and that's where, like I'm talking with this intensity and stuff, and there's so many days I don't want to get out of bed, and like I force myself to do cold shower and all this stuff. I'm like, I do want to make it clear for anybody who listens, and if we do another podcast, there's more even to talk about, but when we see people who are high performers, I think it's good to compare from a place of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes, and I'll be honest, spending time with Evan, someone so high performing so much, being coach, There were so many moments where I felt like he's a magical unicorn and I'm a donkey, and why would he hang out with a donkey? Talk about not enough. Swear to God. I literally told him that. Did you know? Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Like, 6 months ago, I'm super low, like sad, again, like lifting more, not feeling like I'm worthy, all this stuff. And I'm walking and I'm like, dude, I feel like you're a unicorn and I don't know why I hang out with this donkey. And I said it and I'm crying in front of him.
No.
And I let it build up for like a week or two, right? Like I'm letting it build up, right? Anyway, so whatever, we had this conversation, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he did this whole Jedi thing. And so, but that's the thing. Like, I do want to say that it's, when you hear my story, there's, what stayed constant is what you said. If I look at psychology, if I look at COP, the thing with me is I've always wanted to help people. And I think even though I found a niche, actually created a niche through how I saw it, right? Where it's a Jedi teaching salsa, right? Like Yoda teaching salsa and teaching them all to be Yodas, coaching the people, right, who want that too. You can have that in anything. Like it doesn't matter if you run your own business. Like I used to think that an entrepreneur is someone who runs their own business. And I was listening to this podcast, I don't remember, and they said, action entrepreneur, you can work for a company or anybody. An entrepreneur is someone who looks for solutions, who's trying to solve something. And when I thought about it, I'm like, I'm trying to solve pain. I'm trying to make people not feel like they don't belong. I'm like, that's what I want to solve. That's the world problem I want to solve. And I don't believe that I'll ever solve it. Like, but it's so massive that it's a big thing that can just make me want more.
Right.
Right. So like right now I'm reading Jocko's book. What is it? Experience. You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God. Jocko, the SEAL guy. Okay, somewhere, whatever. Absolute ownership or something.
Oh, yes. The Navy SEAL one, right?
Extreme ownership, something like that. Yes. So I'm just started reading that, right? Like, because I'm like, I still need to get better as a leader. I still need to get better as a coach and stuff. So I do want to say that if you hear me, like you could be 16 and 15 or 12 hearing this or 52. The idea is if there's a light inside you and you want to share it, it doesn't have to mean running a company. It just means being bold enough to say, hey, can I just offer to one person? Can I pour it to one more person? And then cut out the people who are saying no. And it took me years to cut out some people because guess what? For me, it's belong. So I'm a people pleaser and my thing is belong. I have a very hard time pushing people out because everybody belongs. So wait, does everybody belong in my life? Like, and so what I've learned is some people, and this is funny, some people belong somewhere else. True, but what I really learned is how can I be still happy for them because I still want them to win. I still want everybody to win. If they're not even in my life, my ex-partners, whoever, doesn't matter what you do to me, I still want you to win. So how do I bridge that gap? Because for people who maybe want to do something, but people don't believe in them right now, whatever. Well, I'd say this, can someone who shares my values really be happy around me who's obsessed about building something? Probably not, because they'll think they're not good enough. It's going to eat them away. And they will unconsciously sabotage you. Not even intentionally. Like, I don't believe most people intentionally do it. I think that they see a reflection of something maybe they're not living. And they don't want to deal with that. So they say, whoa, you don't have to work out. Whoa, you don't have to do another podcast. Whoa, you don't have to do this. Don't go to this. Right? It's not intentional for most people.
Right.
And so I don't know how we got on this topic. But all I'm saying is, when you're listening to my story, because I would listen to some of these people like Jocko or Will Smith and whatever, and sometimes I let their successes and how far they come, I would compare the gap and it would overwhelm me. Like you have 14, 15, 30,000 followers, I don't know, whatever. You have someone, like someone sees your Instagram and like, I can't, I have 300. Right? whatever, right? And it's like, and that's the block where it's like, no. Lean into the thing that gives you light and be a master of it in some way. And how? By doing the hard things.
And putting in the work.
The best mother, the best father, the best son, whatever. Doesn't matter what. And just go and crush that thing that makes you happy. Even if it's part-time.
Man, Alex, that was powerful. I just want to say that was like the best 42 minutes of this
Oh my God, we're so over.
Straight rawness and fire. No, man, I really, really appreciate you, especially your humility, your vulnerability, and just being open.
Unbreakable.